Yeah, he's becoming an old man. He's entering middle age. Who knows how he feels. He's probably got all these emotions. He probably goes through anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, Oscar actually does have a lot of anxiety. He's one of those dogs that reminds me that that's a real thing.
I like how his legs are taller than the rest of his body. It's almost like if he had a 3-inch lift kit on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, he gallops.
Does he really? Like a horse?
Like a deer or a horse. Yeah, it's like he frolics through the grass. It's actually quite beautiful.
That's got to be the coolest thing in the world, bro.
Yeah. Well, I one time I was downtown in Flint, where I'm from before Chicago here, and I was in there's an ice rink there, but it was in the summertime, and so I was just letting him walk around inside of it, and he was off his leash, and then a security guard came by, and he looked over, and he thought that Oscar was like a baby deer, like he had said something like that. Here, can you pop that door open real quick? Yeah, she just wants our little lady here. Yeah, and it's chaos here on Ruse Radio, folks. Episode 134, and we've got a very special guest, sir. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Gerardo Mercado. I would say I'm a multidisciplinary artist in the city of Chicago and a comedy lover. So as we were just saying, because you have a lot of comedians on the podcast.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, we just got off of our first show that we did last night. The Mercado Goods Showcase is what I call it, and we showcase photography, art, our fashion design, our new collection, and much more. So
what, if someone were coming to the showcase and they're seeing all of that, what do you mean? How does that work?
So I actually thought it was kind of self-explanatory, trying to promote the event, but I had a lot of people actually ask me the same thing. And I guess really it's one of those things where it's hard to really describe exactly what it is, because you kind of just have to go and experience it. You know what I mean? And I say that because we have an art installation, and then we have a DJ, we have food. So it's almost like if it was a house party mashed with a art installation, mashed with a brand pop-up, mashed with entertainment, live music, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just a vibe. It's something different to do. A lot of people came out, hung out, and I would say we had fun,
Okay. And what kind of stuff did you showcase then?
So it was my photography, one of my paintings, 2 paintings I had commissioned, and a short film I had created. And then also our brand new collection, because we're a clothing brand.
I'm going to kick these animals out. Come on, you guys.
The animals give you anxiety? I feel like...
distract me so
Really?
much, dude. They're not going to stop. They're just going to stand there and stare. Come on. You guys can handle this. Come on.
Yo.
Dude, I can't handle these guys right now. Margot's might come back, but Oscar, he won't. The thing is, if I put a doggy bed there, he'll lay in it and then he'll get up. He's just, dude, he can't. He doesn't understand what's good for a camera, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Someone's going to tune in. They're going to want to be listening to what you're saying, but they're going to be watching that dog, standing next to my feet the whole time. I guarantee you.
But you know what? That's almost probably that's probably a positive thing, because it's when you're watching TikTok and you're watching half a video,
yeah,
and the other half is a Subway Surfer video. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You're looking at the dog move around, but you're listening to the podcast,
All right, I'll consider it. If he knocks on the door, he gets to come back inside.
Yeah, right. If he knocks on the door,
yeah.
Yo, just paw straight up on the door. Just no, the cat actually did knock though.
Yeah, she did.
Well, scratch. But
there's a cord that runs under the door for my fan out there. So what she'll do is I think on cue she's doing it. Yeah,
she's knocking right now.
Yank on the cord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, "Why'd you kick me out?" Yeah. I mean, this is my life, This is why you get podcast studios, folks.
Dude, I think
you think this is better?
This is better. This is better.
I like the way you think, man.
Dude, because this is the coolest thing in the world. I think
it's how you get people comfortable, honestly.
It's how you get people comfortable. We're literally in your home. What is this room anyway? This is a living room, a bedroom?
So it's supposed to be the bedroom, but I think of the apartment as a studio. It's a studio because that way, even when I'm making music, the music's in its own room.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I can try and keep the animals separated from it and all that. Like, it feels like there's a professional space and then there's like a living space. And I think that's the smarter way to do it. Yeah. And also, if I want to watch a movie, like there's the TV that's behind the camera here. So
Dude,
I can
this is
just
a
chill on this
giant
couch.
TV.
Yeah.
What size TV is that? Let me guess. I think I heard you say 75 or something. Yeah.
Started answer.
Yeah, you did. I worked at Best Buy. That's why I was going to try and guess.
What were you going to say, do you think?
I was going to say 80, actually.
Oh, you would have been close.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, really, it goes by the fives. So it's either 75 or 85. You were going to say 85, though, is what you're saying. I wish it was 85 inches. It probably cost like $400 extra at that point.
Yeah, dude, I used to nerd out over like TVs and stuff because I used to sell home theater equipment at Best Buy until I got fired. And then I reapplied, and then I got a job at appliances. It was not the same. It's not the same, like, going from selling, like, audio systems and home theater systems to selling, like LG washing machines and Whirlpools. And, you know what I mean? It's just not the same.
What is it just because you don't care as much about it? Like, is it that? Like, what is it that makes it so different? Because it's still selling things. Like, what's the real difference?
The difference is, like, your interest level.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I would imagine.
I'm, like, very much into, like, film, comedy, as we were saying, music. And so, like, when you're in, like, the home theater section of Best Buy, it's like, you know, you get all of that. And you can build your own equipment and your own setups and stuff like that, too. So, and then when you walk into, like, the Magnolia section, it's, like, even more, like, of the luxury, like, home theater setups. So it's just always cool to, like, even chill and hang out in there, really, is what it felt like.
Oh, you hear that? You hear what's going on here? Would anyone care to open that door and let Margo inside? Yeah. Come here, baby. Come here. All right. Apologize for the interruption here on Riz Radio. But yeah, how many other jobs have you went through then? Have you been through a bunch of jobs? You live a bunch of different lives like that or no?
Yeah, actually. When I was 15, I was working as a dishwasher, which is probably my favorite job that I've ever had. Actually, some might say I was a underwater ceramic specialist.
Oh, okay.
And that was what I did at Rookie's Bar and Grill. It's like it's a bar and grill, you know.
Yeah.
And I was in the back in the kitchen with all of my people, La Raza, Mexicans. And there was a guy in there that I still to this day I don't know his name. I think we called him Tío, which is uncle. So like his name that I would call him is like Unc, like yo uncle, you know what I mean? Every time I'd call him. And then another guy would be like cousin, and another guy was like nephew. And honestly, in the kitchen that you work with, like when you work in a kitchen, surprisingly, it's a lot gayer than people think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You mean like gay jokes?
No, like I remember like you would drop something and then this like 30-year-old man would just walk up right behind you as you're bending over to grab it, and he's like, "Oh," you know what I mean? Like and it was just the funniest thing in the world, dude. It was like such a great time working in a kitchen. And I honestly I wish I could have done that longer, but then I quit my job to work somewhere a little bit closer, and I worked at a retirement home.
Okay.
And I had 2 jobs for like 2 days.
2 jobs for 2 days. Now, that's not something that's going to hold up for very long, folks. You can do that for a little bit, but you're going to need something a little more solid, a little more for sure, a little more permanent. And so what do you do if that's your situation? If you're trying to find something that's going to get you in that state of mind where you have a job and you don't have to worry about these other jobs. What's something you can do all the time and you don't even really have to try, and it can become a job and you can become a professional at it? I can come up with maybe at least one thing, and I'll tell you what it is. You could become a professional mind blower. You could just blow minds all the time. I mean, can you imagine being the mind blower of the universe, the person that blows minds? I think we're all professional mind blowers in some way, shape, or form. I think somehow we all manage to pull it off in our own way. That's why I love doing this podcast and having people on, because they can tell me how they blow minds in their own unique way, and that's fantastic. And if you want to support this show, the shirts are a great way for you to do it. It's also a great way for you to let people know that you are a professional mind blower. It's that job that'll never leave you, the when you don't have to go job to job to job, because your one job, your one true profession is mind blowing, blowing the brains and the minds of the world. $25 for a t-shirt. We've got smalls, we've got mediums, we got larges, and we can make more sizes if you so please, folks. It's true. That is shipping included for that $25. So, I mean, you got to jump on it, folks. It's a deal you can't refuse. Look at me. I've got a cat on my lap. I'm giving you an offer you can't refuse. Can you believe it? But say what? Say you refuse that offer. Say, you know what? Maybe I don't want a t-shirt. Well, guess what? You can still support this show. You can let us know you love Ruse Radio if you just go to the Patreon. That's right. You click that link we've got in our description. However you find it, it's somewhere. It's so easy to find. It's Patreon. It's Ruse Official. And you can support us. You can get exclusive podcast content. You can hear my music come out before it even actually comes out in the real world. And what else? I think one more thing. Oh, yeah. You can hear songs that are only on the Patreon. They're not going to be released anywhere else. I mean, tons of exclusive stuff right there available for you on that Patreon. And also, it's a great way for you to support this show. Let us know that you like what we're doing, folks, because I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody that comes on. I couldn't do this without anybody else, and I want to make it bigger and better. And the only way that's possible is if it becomes a bigger and bigger production, moolah-wise. So if you want to support the show, you want to see that happen, I'm giving you the opportunity, baby. Patreon. Really appreciate you guys. Again, professional mind blower t-shirts, $25. Smalls, medium, larges. We can make more sizes if you want. All that information in the description. Now, I believe we were talking about Mr. Mercado's job journey.
And I worked at a retirement home, and then I worked at a fast food restaurant.
Oh.
And then they made me clean the bathroom, and I had just watched like a clip the day before of like Kevin O'Leary being like, I worked at an ice cream shop and they made me clean the bathroom, and I was like, oh, this is not my job, so I'm gonna quit. And I don't know, I guess I did that even when I probably needed the money.
Thanks, Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin O'Leary. So I quit my job because they made me clean the bathroom, and then I quit working at the retirement home because what specifically got to me was we were going up to the 3rd floor. And in this retirement home, the 3 levels is like, it meant something. And like on the 3rd level was like the severity of the patients. So it was like the 3rd level was like these people were like mentally not there.
Okay.
Like they were gone.
Level 3.
And we're in the elevator, and he's like, one of the other guys that was there, he goes, hey, I'm just giving you a warning, like a heads up. Like, these people are going to all be asking you that they want to go home. Because every time they see somebody new, they just they think that they're there like they're saving grace. So, like, just don't pay any mind to it. Like, you're just here to do your job. So the second he opened the door, ding, door's open. Dude, it was like I entered Zombieland. All these old people were just like, take me home. And I'm like, oh, dude, I wanted to cry, bro.
Oh, really?
Because
it's that bad?
It was that bad. It was that bad. And that was why I left. It was meant, like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, man. I could not do that.
So they're like, is it like kind of like a psych ward type of thing?
No, it was just like, the first floor is like, everybody is just like, it's old people, but they're like capable. You know, they could take care of themselves. The second floor is like a little bit worse, like assisted living, call it. And then the 3rd floor is like, these people are on the brink of dying. Like, there was an ambulance there, like, every day.
Oh. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Yeah. So, yeah, just looking mortality in the face like that every day didn't seem like the life for you. So we move on, yeah.
No, but, yeah, I had a job before that, actually. Me and my brother, we grew up in a flea market. A lot of people don't know that. My dad had a small business, a soccer store. And we sold shin guards, socks, jerseys, just everything soccer related. And I was the one that would make all of the customized like soccer kits
Oh,
for
really?
like all the high school teams and stuff like that. And I would be like heat pressing them. And to this day, I think that that's probably like why I got into like making clothes and like art probably.
Because you were doing that.
Yeah, I was making all the uniforms. Shouts out to child labor.
Yeah. It
You know,
means who
you
are.
go to like any Hispanic small business, bro. There's like a 5-year-old kid working the register or something. They're doing something productive.
Yeah. And you know what? That is great. That is a great thing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
teaches
bro.
them a lot.
I mean, it taught me a lot.
I mean, for real though, if you, especially with family businesses and stuff like that too, like that's how that happens a lot of the time. Is you got to catch them when they're young. Got to
Yeah,
get them
yeah.
early. Yeah. I mean, like you never really like when I was asking about what you were showcasing, you said it was mainly clothing. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of clothing were you showcasing at?
So my focus right now is mainly t-shirts, but we did have jeans and I had some button-ups, but I wasn't able to finish them. The t-shirts, they're like half cut and sew pieces because we buy the blanks, but we crop them to make them seem a lot more of a boxy kind of fit. And my goals this year is to teach myself how to screen print, how to sew a lot better, and Photoshop. Like those are my 3 things that I'm going to develop that craft this year. That's really just like my main priority. But we did have jeans, we had shirts, and why the t-shirt is because I feel like the t-shirt, the barrier of entry is like so easy because you just get blanks, print on them, and it's like your own brand. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of streetwear, and you know that's pretty much where that comes from.
When it comes to like the blanks though, isn't it just it's still like the quality of the blanks, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would you recommend? Because I don't even like the shirt I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
Professional mind blower t-shirts, folks.
Yeah, I want to scan the QR code. Can we do that on the pod?
Oh,
Like, I'll
absolutely.
scan the QR code.
And I'll tell you right now
What
I've
it
got
goes to?
Some cards inside of my pocket.
Oh,
I'll
for
hand
the
them to
with
you
the
folks
same.
here.
No, but we got to get it on video of me scanning your shirt, bro. That
Yes,
would be
please.
way more gnarly.
Please, sir, please
right.
scan my shirt. For the
Yeah,
audio
yeah.
listeners, I'm getting scanned,
For
and
the-
I'm getting objectified, and it is awesome.
And we're gonna see if we get our mind blown by a professional.
Yeah, if that's what's going on.
Oh, it's a link tree.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh.
We got cards. We got business cards. You
Oh.
scan that code. My link tree pops up. All those links pop up. We got YouTube. We got TikTok. We got Instagram. You can get the t-shirts, $25. We got a podcast. You can see that on YouTube. You can hear it on streaming services, folks. Ruse Radio. Yeah.
Dude, you have everything, bro. How do you do it to have so many platforms? Patreon, YouTube,
Snapchat.
TikTok, Instagram, Substack, Twitter. What is Substack? Hold on, we'll get back to that. Facebook, Discord, Letterboxd, Telegram, Twitch. Damn, and Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. Holy smokes, bro.
Yep.
You're on everything.
What can
Where
I
do you
say?
get the time, bro?
It just finds me.
That did blow my mind, actually.
Thank you. Here, take a business card.
I
sir.
will, I will.
We got cards for you folks as well. I got cards for the cat.
Dude, nah, I say because I try to only focus my attention on Instagram and YouTube right now.
Well, how I look at it is, because like all those are on there. I wouldn't say I'm extremely active on everything, but like one thing I've learned over time is that some people only use certain things. So some people are only gonna see what you're gonna post on Snapchat. Some people are only gonna see it there. You'd think like they would see what you post on Instagram, or they would see what you post on maybe Facebook, maybe your friends on Facebook, but they literally mainly only see the stuff on Snapchat. And so I'll forget that, but then like sometimes people will randomly reply to my Snapchat stories. Like there was one guy who responded to one of the rap things I posted, like I think it was like within 2 months from then to now. I can't remember when exactly. Probably 2 months ago. And he said like, oh, you know, I used to low-key hate on your stuff so much, but now I'm listening to it, and like these are actually bars, bro. This is fire. And it was like a voice message, and that was all he really said. But it's just funny because that means he's been looking at my stuff on Snapchat for years.
Damn.
Years.
Yeah.
And then now he's finally coming around, and it just makes me think like, oh damn, I really should keep posting on here.
Yeah.
But that's how it is with all of them. Like Some people are only going to see your stuff on TikTok. Some people are only going to see your stuff on Instagram. I don't really like Facebook just because it seems like Facebook is so geared against pages and things like that, unless you're a big popular name. It's what it seems like. I think they want you to advertise, but I could be wrong. Maybe
aside from TikTok, where would you say is the best platform for discoverability right now?
YouTube.
I think so too.
Yeah, YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like that's why I like this podcast, because if people actually tune in and people actually watch it, the whole way that YouTube's algorithm works with watch time, like a podcast is perfect for something like YouTube, like long form content. If you can get people to tune in, that's why they thrive so much on there, because and that's why you want to do the video podcast, because then you can really put it on YouTube. It's funny. I think even if people mostly aren't even looking at the screen, they still would rather tune into a video podcast. Like, I really think that. Like, even though I don't actually usually look, I would still probably rather click on the one.
I listen to podcasts. Well, I watch video podcasts, but I'm really like listening to them. Guess when? When I'm driving.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
So then I'll be driving, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, check this out," and then I'll be driving, and I'll be like checking it out. You know what I mean? And then that's like, as I'm driving, I'll be like checking out like the video while I'm watching it. You know,
like in the middle of mowing the lawn, like whipping your phone out and taking a peek.
But dude, I love watching video podcasts.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is, but I could just watch somebody talk for 3 hours, bro. But like sometimes I can't watch a movie for 3 hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
But something about just people talking in my ear for 3 hours is just like ambient noise almost, you know?
Yeah. I wonder what that is. It's so funny because it really is like a new thing. What podcast do you normally listen to?
I listen to Bad Friends. I listen to the Fat Fish podcast. I listen to Theo Von's podcast, Joe Rogan. Drew sits with Ruse Radio. I listen to the Andrew Schultz Flagrant ones. I listen to Brilliant Idiots. I would probably say Shannon Sharp as well. And the Lil Yachty podcast. Sometimes Full Send has some pretty nice episodes.
What was the second one you said? Because it was one I hadn't heard of.
Theo Von? Fat Fish?
Fat Fish, yeah. What's that?
It's with Ralph Barboa and his friend Jaime Garcia. They're both comedians out of Texas, and they actually come to Chicago a lot too.
Yeah.
Dude, they're hilarious. I actually think his friend is funnier than the comedian who started and he popped off. He's got specials on Netflix.
Ralph Barbosa.
Ralph Barbosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got specials on Netflix. I think he has one coming out on Hulu. Damn, I'm plugging everybody else today, man. But he's a funny guy, very funny. And I enjoy watching a lot of their podcasts. And some of the podcasts are just like nothingness. But sometimes it's that nothingness that's kind of like a palate cleanser. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, like I did like a 3-hour podcast with somebody the other day, and afterwards he had said to me something about like I can't remember. I said like something along the lines of, this is something like this is nice because you can really have anybody on. And then he said, like I feel like sometimes I'm just saying like dumb shit. Like, I just feel like I'm just talking like, I'm just being an idiot. Like, what am I saying here? But then I said to him basically that, like, sometimes that's exactly what you need. It doesn't have to be.
Like, believe it or not, sometimes people want to listen to basically that,
Exactly. I would.
And,
I would
too.
do it.
Like, I do it all the time. Like, sometimes I'm like, why am I even listening to this? Like, they're just like talking, like if it's just them too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's exactly the point of it, you know what I mean, of podcasting. That's why it's so cool. You could have a conversation with people, meet new people, and then it's just really like, it's almost like somebody was saying like, yo, we should just raw dog a podcast, like no mics, no cameras, no nothing. And it's like, I read the comment section and they were like, you mean a conversation? And it's like, that's exactly what it is. I think that's why at its core podcasting works.
I think
human nature is, we just want to tune in. Like, let's say you're sitting to someone on the pink line or like on the train or whatever it is, and like someone's having like banter or conversation or roasting each other or joshing each other. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, or tea, someone's spilling tea and they're like talking shit. You know what I mean? Then you're like tuning into their conversation. You're eavesdropping without even really thinking about it. But I think it's just human nature, bro. We just want to hear people talk.
Wow, podcasts are like consensual eavesdropping.
Yeah, dude, podcast. That's like a funny way of looking at it, because podcasting really is consensual eavesdropping, bro. That's so funny, dude.
It really
That's
is.
like, that would be a really good comedy bit, bro. You should do that, bro.
For my final, I need to write that down in my big list of stuff for my stand-up routine for when it finally comes out. You know, when I
Yeah.
finally convert.
Dude, and when you polish that joke, dude, call me up. I'll go check out the show.
Yeah.
Just for that one joke. I'll be like, I was there. You know what I mean?
But like, I think what you're saying is true, but it's when podcasts are done right. Because I think like the best examples of podcasts are that, but I think it's also something that's become so much bigger than what I know it to be, or what you just described it as. Because I think of podcasts as two people just hanging out. Those are what I listen to. But now there's so many like shows. There's so many podcast shows, or like things that are, you know, it's a lot. It's more of a production, or like there's an angle to it, or like there's a theme to it.
Yeah.
The way that I do it is not that. I prefer exactly what you just said. Like, I think a podcast works best when it's literally just two people talking, because that's when you get the best version of somebody.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll like prepare a bunch of things beforehand just in case, but usually what I find is like the less you go with whatever you had planned and you just go with whatever's happening. With a podcast in particular, that's what works so best. Like with the conversation, that's what works so best, or that's what works the best. And so, yeah, I just think like I think it's also interesting too, because it allows you to understand people in a way that you never could before. You really couldn't before. And more and more and more, it's becoming more relevant. Like now you have political figures showing up on podcasts and having hour-long conversations where you would never see something like that 8 years ago, even 5 years ago, even. It's just so different than what we know the landscape of any conversation to be. And so like, and then you know, more and more actors now are appearing on podcasts. Like around the time we record this, I think like Timothée Chalamet was doing his movie press run within like the last month, and he was on a bunch of podcasts, which is different for an actor to do, because they don't usually show up on a bunch of shows. I know Matthew McConaughey's done a bunch of podcasts over time, but again, like it's becoming more and more and more of a thing, which is so cool, because you get to see people, and you get to, in my mind, like that's what you can do with something like that, is you can show people who you are.
Yeah, you know, almost like how you're saying that, like, people are starting to realize like how big podcasting is. And even then right now, like I feel like a lot of people think that podcasting has reached like it's like peak, but dude, if you really think about it, the fact that like A-list celebrity actors are starting to go on podcasts, like just now starting to get on, political figures are just now starting to get on podcasts. Like this is the tip of the iceberg. Like we're really just starting to get on this peak of what podcasting really is and what it can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for the same thing that you're saying of like all these actors that are just now starting to go on podcasts, I can relate, because a lot of these like fashion people that I look up to, where otherwise before, like the fashion industry is very much kind of like that actor Hollywood industry where it's like very like closed doors, you know, gatekeepy kind of vibe. But there's a podcast that I've been listening to. I think it's called Ghetto Runways. And I think, funny enough, one of the dudes is actually from Chicago too. They might even shoot it in Chicago as well. But they've gotten a lot, and I mean a lot, of fashion designers on the podcast, where typically you'd never hear their opinions or really even see what it is that these people are like before. And they come on the podcast, and it's like so interesting, because otherwise you'd really never even get to like see the side of the people. And it's like on the come up. It's really just like starting to pop off like even more. Like we're in a hockey stick curve of just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I remember saying like 10 years ago, or not, I guess not 10 years ago, but it would be almost near it. Because really when I started like with filming this podcast at all, or recording it at all, would be 2018. And so I remember right around then I was saying like, that everybody should start a podcast if they could, because like if you have any of the resources at all to do it, like whatever market you're in, like whoever you're trying to entertain, you would be, or even like the crowd you're trying to attract, you would be able to do that with a podcast in a way that you don't even realize. Like the effect of it would play out naturally if it's fashion, if it's comedy, if you're an artist, if you're an author, if you're a musician, anything. Like just by doing it, you're tapping into a crowd that's still there. And you know what's funny is when I thought about when you said that too, people were saying that podcasts were hitting their peak like years ago.
Yeah.
They've been saying that.
Yeah.
And then it just
like people
keeps
would get
getting
trolled
bigger.
for like wanting to start one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I said that when I started mine, because I remember like I felt like, you know, there was like this weird like stigma surrounding starting a podcast. Like people look at it like it's a dumb thing, or like what, like you're just recording nothing, basically, like we said. Because in a way you kind of are, but in another way, like it is I think it's such a powerful thing. Like I've learned through doing interviews and through doing podcasts, like that's been the most meaningful stuff I've done in terms of like getting to know people and like creating relationships and stuff like that. Like, and even with people who do podcasts long term, like a lot of long form conversations you'll have with some people will be there in that medium. Like, you know, you don't usually sit and talk with people for 4 hours or however long a podcast goes. You know what I mean? Like even 2 hours. Usually you don't sit down and talk to somebody for 1 hour. Usually you see them for 5 or 10 minutes, and it's, you know, it's just like a passing by thing, or you're busy and there's a bunch of stuff going on. You're not sitting there focusing on the conversation the whole time like you would be. Like, I really think like spiritually podcasts are genius, dude. I agree with what you're saying, everything you're saying, but it's just about like doing it, because you get better at it as you do it too, you know. And I think like when it comes to like someone like Joe Rogan, who's at the pinnacle of it, I think about like how frequently he's done that for so long too.
Yeah.
Because like to have such reach and to have such like influence and to even be able to do that is to continue to do it over and over and over and over again all the time forever.
Dude,
there's a lesson in that.
He probably got the discipline from comedy, bro, because I mean, when you really think about it, in a way, that's kind of what, I mean, I respect comedians for it, because it's developing that muscle, you know what I mean?
That's all they do.
And that's all they do. They are just polishing jokes every single night, hitting as many open mics as they possibly can. And that's exactly what Joe Rogan did. I mean, he's on like episode like 2,000 and something, 3,000 and something maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's at the point where he's releasing one every 3 days now. You know what I mean? Like every 2 or 3 days, he's like a new guest.
I heard him say once that it's like his schedule, because it was not that long ago. It was on a recent podcast, and he said that it's 3 to 5 a week. And sometimes I didn't even realize, like when he does those fight companions, those don't even count sometimes. Like those are not even part of the 2,000. So there's more than those. But no, I'm trying to do them one every 3 days, and I don't even think that's keeping up to Joe Rogan pace. I think Joe Rogan's still ahead of me.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's doing 5 podcasts a week?
Up to 5. I think it's like 3 to 5. Yeah.
So he kind of just releases them whenever he wants to, really?
Pretty much.
Dude, that's...
But if you're him, you can have pretty much anybody in whenever you're trying to get them for the most part, because who's going to say no?
Yeah, how's getting guests? Do you find it easy, good, or what do you do when you can't get anybody?
I just what I've learned is better to overbook than underbook for one thing.
Yeah.
So like what I really need to do is get ahead of schedule. What I really need to do is get way ahead of schedule, so that way I don't even have to worry about if I can't get anybody. Let's say like I'm a month ahead. Okay, and then I book like the next month out, so I'll still stay a month ahead, and then like 2 people cancel. Well, now that's not that big of a deal that those 2 people canceled, because it wasn't like riding on, like dropping an episode wasn't riding on that. But that's the only way to do it, I think, is to overbook it. But then you get into the thing where some episodes are going to be falling behind. Like if I had a second person that I was paying to like edit all this, it probably would drop. I could drop probably one every 2 days, honestly, if I really wanted to. Because it's the editing it that takes forever. Yeah, that's really what slows you down. Because dude, this is nothing. I'm just setting up a camera and I'm talking to you. Yeah, like this part's easy, but it's all the other stuff. But yeah, yeah, finding people. It's just going to open mics and stuff like that. Like going to because I do music. If it's an all arts open mic and I can show them what I do, like in the right format, if I can make that happen, then, I come up and say hi afterwards and I give you the card and I say like, hey, I do a podcast. Really, that's the way. And then I've learned to like get your phone out and follow them on Instagram. Like say, hey, what's your Instagram? And follow them, because then usually they'll follow you back. And that's like a good way to establish that, But just whatever. And then just make that happen. That's how I've been doing it. Because it's the comedians in Chicago, what I've learned too is it's kind of like a big net of people, like a big swath of people. Like they're all kind of interconnected in this way because they all kind of know each other. Because like you said, they're going out to open mics all the time, every night. So they all see each other around. And so that's kind of part of it too, is once I've had 20 of them on, now they just have to look on my thing and see, oh, he's had so-and-so and so-and-so. I guess he's cool, or oh, he's followed by 30 people I know. So that's really the trick. I'm glad that you came on, actually, because you're not a comedian. And I want people to realize this show's not just for comedians.
Dude, that's awesome. And also, genuine question, but mainly, do you have, like, white people on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
have anybody.
How many Mexicans would you say you've had on?
That's a good question. More than one. Don't worry.
Yeah. No. Listen.
You're making me think about it. Andres Merlos.
Okay.
He's a comedian. You'd probably like him.
Dude, I'm trying to meet more Hispanic comedians.
You'd like him, dude.
Yeah.
He's great. He just did a comedy movie, a stoner comedy movie with his friend Sean Shaw. It's called Coconut Cruise. They had a release party and everything. It was like within the past month, but he's a real cool guy. He actually, Renee Vaca, if you know who that is.
Yeah, dude, he's big time.
So Renee Vaca brought him on stage, Andres Merlos.
Damn.
Like he had like said, hey, do you see anybody in the crowd who looks funny? It went viral. The clip like had millions of views.
I'm trying to think if I know him. If I don't know him, I should know him, and I will know him.
Yeah.
But
it begins now.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get to know more comedians in the city, and specifically even more like Mexican or Hispanic, Latino comedians, because I have an idea, I have a concept I want to do, and so I'm glad I think I'm in the right place.
Are you able to say what the concept is? Are you allowed to say?
Now. I don't want to say right now.
He's not at liberty to say.
No, I'm not at liberty to say right now.
He's got to talk to his team and get back to us, but the answer is likely no.
Yeah, it's like the meme where it's like, this is what I mean when I say we for my business, and it's like me just doing everything, you know what I mean?
That is what I do that. I literally say we. Because you know what? I think it sounds professional. I think it sounds a lot more professional if I say, we'll get back to you, than if I say, I'll get back to you. It makes me sound smart. I'm looking to see if I have any other Mexican comedians I'm missing out on here that I'm forgetting to mention. You know what? I think he's like the one. It might just be him and you so far. You're my two Mexicans. I might have some more back in the day before I moved to Chicago. I got to have at least one. Ain't no way. But, yeah, it looks like I only got one Mexican comedian for you. One Southern American heritage comedian for you. But, great guy. Great guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'll check
him out.
Andres Merlos. Yes.
So why do you think you got so into comedy?
I've always liked comedy. I've always listened to comedy. Like I've always, and podcasts in general are surrounding comedy. So like it kind of falls into place if you listen to comedy podcasts to listen to comedy anyway. But I think I liked Dane Cook back in the day. I remember Dane Cook. I'm trying to think anybody else I really listened to.
He's the finger guns guy?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
He had a big Kool-Aid bit. He had a thing called Vicious Circle, or I think that's what it was called. It was one of his specials. He was like, really popular.
He was like one of the comedians that first started using social media, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but he got real big around like 2008, and then I remember I really liked him. But I would probably say like it's interesting because I hadn't seen much live comedy until I started going to the open mics I go to now. Like I've been to some live comedy shows. I saw Theo Von live once.
How was that?
That was great. Yeah, that was in Detroit. Theo Von, and that was before he got so popular. Because now he's very, very popular.
Yeah.
But even like this was around 2018, 2019. he was not the type of popular he is now 6 years ago. So now like everybody knows who he is. Back then it was like he was on the rise. So.
Yeah, what do you think about Bert Kreischer? He's like the comedian that everybody's like, is he funny? Is he not funny? What do you think?
I think Bert Kreischer is silly. I don't know if it's
Would you pay to see him?
No.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's for me. That's the thing. Is like I just don't it's like when certain rap music, it's not something I would turn on. It's not a concert I would go to, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like if someone likes it, that's fine. So, because Bert Kreischer, for one, I don't like his whole angle where it's like, because I think he plays it off like a joke, but the whole bit is basically like, if you're an alcoholic, that's cool. Which is like, I don't know if that's the angle to go with.
Yeah.
So not a big fan of that, because like that's the whole joke. He's like, if you drink and you think it's a problem, don't worry about it. Just drink more. Like he said things like this. It's like, I don't know, Bert, because that's exactly what you would say if you were an alcoholic. That's what you would say.
Yeah.
I think Bert Kreischer might be an alcoholic, just maybe.
Maybe. I don't know if it's a secret, but if it is, I don't think we should be telling anybody.
I don't know if it's a secret either.
No, you know who's funny though too is Joey Diaz. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you know who Joey Diaz is?
Oh yeah, of course.
Dude.
Joey Coco Diaz.
Yeah. Dude, he's so funny, man. But he's so what would you call it? Like R-rated or something?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he will literally talk about like snorting coke off a butthole as like the beginning of his set.
Yeah, no, he really will. And it's like, I listened to his audiobook.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing. But I will say, if you like Joey Diaz, you don't have to buy his audiobook to learn more about him. You can just watch the podcast he did on Flagrant Ones. Because I bought his book after I watched the podcast. And on that interview of Flagrant Ones, he's basically telling his entire life story, which was the book. So I already knew everything about his life before I bought the audiobook.
Oh, it's like the whole book.
Yeah.
In
so if you
form.
watch that podcast, he basically told you his whole life story in like 3 hours versus like however long the book was, maybe the same amount of time. I don't know. I don't remember, but yeah. So now you save yourself like $12. Or like that one guy on TikTok I just saved myself $150. Same thing.
Yeah. You were saying before that you thought about doing comedy, like you've went on stage at open mics and stuff like this before?
Dude, I did 2 open mics because I love comedy. I love the art form, and I have such a respect for it. But the only thing is, I realized probably like this month that I am just a comedy lover, and that's okay. I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? I can just appreciate it because I'm really happy with what it is that I'm doing, with what I'm creating, and to add something else to my plate and being able to like basically like balance 2 things at once. I want to focus my attention on one thing. And I think right now what I'm doing is like the thing for me. I think this is what like fills my void a little bit more and like is what I've been doing since I was a kid, like I told you. So now it's really being able to crank it up and turn it into what I think it could turn into, you know?
Yeah. Because I mean, like, I feel the same way when it comes to comedy where like I see people do it and I think it would be great. And I even think like maybe that's something I could do. But at the same time, it's like I am so certain in the other things that I do. Why even try to be? Because for one thing you hear from these comedians is that you're going to suck for a long time before you get good.
2 years probably.
Yeah. And you just have to accept that.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, I bombed. But that was how I fell in love with it. I was like, man, I bombed the first time. I was like, damn. I love this.
I could do this for a long time.
And then I just never went back. But I mean, actually I did go back. I went back again, but after that I was like, man, I just don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, I said it's like a night owl kind of hobby. Like you have to be out all night.
Yeah.
Till like 2 a.m. I think those times I got home because I was like the new guy. So I was like the last on every single list because I didn't know like you have to go to this spot, then that spot, you know? So I was like the last name on every list, and I was leaving. I only did it twice, but I would come home at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And I was like, I mean, I love staying up late at night, but I don't want to do this every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and you also, like, you know, when you're performing at the very end of those open mics and most of the people have already left too, is usually how it goes. Was that what it was like for you?
That was what it was. It was at the Beer Belly open mic was one of them, and the other one, I don't remember. It was an open mic on Taylor Street, and at the Beer Belly, it was exactly that, bro. It was like it went from being a full room to being like one drunk guy and one shirtless guy in the room.
Sounds about right.
And I was like, oh man, I'm performing to like 2 people. But I still liked it, man. Having the spotlight come down to you, it's like, it's a very different feeling. I really love that feeling. And, you know, I love being on camera and stuff like that. So that's why I feel comfortable like doing podcasts. And, you know, I feel like when most people would try and be like, oh no, you know, like, I don't know, be shy or whatever. I'm not. I enjoy doing it a lot.
Yeah. I feel like I can understand that. I can understand like getting nervous in front of a camera, but I think like the only way you wouldn't be is just the only way like you wouldn't be if you felt that way is just completely ignore it. Like, so say like I need to film something for like a video. Like I just turn on the camera and go. Like it doesn't matter what I think about what I'm doing. I just have to turn on the camera and go. I think people just stop themselves with like stupid ideas. Like just film the thing. Like, just get in front of the camera and talk in front of the like no one is thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it.
And it's like you said, like comedy, you're going to suck for a long time.
And that's the lesson in that is that you get to realize that it's okay to suck.
Yeah, it's okay to suck.
And no one really cares in the end.
And then 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, when you don't suck and you're really you're killing it, that's when people are going to notice.
Yeah.
And that's what matters the most.
Yeah. And like, you know, I always tell like comedians who come onto the show, like, as a musician, I envy that they have that mindset because in other art forms, that same type of thinking is where you get the best art. Like in music, if you thought of it that way, like I need to keep creating and making better things all the time because you'll see people who are musicians, but they'll make a song and they just want to make one song every few months, or they don't really write all the time, or they don't really make content or like create all the time. Just create things, like just create. Because that's what you should be doing as a creative person is creating. But if you get out of that mindset, that habit, then you can easily fall into a bunch of other habits, you know, and get away from it. And so the fact that comedians are constantly going out and hammering down all of this content all the time as their art form, like that is something you could learn from. Because as a musician, like I feel like I need to write things all the time. Like I need to constantly write. Like as a rapper, especially like a poet, you need to write all the time.
And you know what's crazy is I've made music a few times. I'm a huge hip hop head. I love all music, but dude, when I was like 8 years old, 10 years old, I used to like write songs. And so like I'd always carry like a notebook in my back pocket, and I just liked writing it better. But then that developed into having my notes app on me all the time. And so like then I would like write certain things or like write choruses or like maybe write a verse. And then even with the comedy thing too, because like, you know, music, comedy, and that's why I'm saying like it started to become where it was like, all right, you know, the funnel's a little too wide here, you know what I mean? Like let's shorten this out. And now I feel like because of all of those things that I've kind of like loved, like comedy, music, and attempted all of these things of like always jotting down ideas, I feel like that's what's allowed me to, you know, save all of these ideas in my back pocket for like clothes and like campaigns and shoots and stuff like that. So I treat it in the same way, just a little bit in a different manner. So I know exactly what you're talking about of like constantly writing stuff down.
And that's interesting too, like how it all feeds into each other in such a way too. Like, you know, that's one reason I think it's cool to do different things is because somehow those things feed into one another in ways you wouldn't imagine. Like how you said those ideas become clothing ideas over time. Like, you know, through like one thing I'll notice with comedians, like is I'll even have a conversation with them and I'll like see them doing something that we talked about as a bit, and and I'll know it's because we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like there's something about like airplane attendants I was talking to somebody about, like, or not airplane attendants. He was saying, oh dude, I can't remember something about the airplane. Because I remember he posted a video the next day and it was that exact thing. And I know it was what we were talking about. And then another thing was a friend had mentioned to me, I can't remember what that one was specifically, but I just thought it was funny because I remember that it just makes me think like how those things become like so they're constantly, for them, the gears are always turning like that. Like, I guess that's what it makes me think of. Like for them, they're always in that mode, you know? And like to me, it's almost kind of exhausting. Like I've noticed, like when you have a bunch of them around each other, like a bunch of comedians, they're all like joking. They're all like joking back and forth the whole time, and it almost like I almost feel like I'm inferior. Like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
ruin
No,
what
dude.
they're doing
There's
here.
nothing more that I'm afraid of than being in a room filled with comedians, because like for me, it's like I think it would be the funniest thing in the world, and I would love to experience like a green room with like a bunch of comedians, but I don't think I'd be prepared for it, dude, because I just think that everybody would kind of just, it's like locker room talk, you know what I mean? Like they're just like, you know, grilling you about this or joking around about that, messing around about this and then whatever, and tearing you apart, but they're not really, they're just joking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like I just wouldn't be able to distinguish. I'm like, oh, are you insulting me? You know what I mean? Like I'm a huge comedy fan, but like at the same time, like I just, in the room with them, I just wouldn't be like, is this a bit? You know what I mean? Like, am I talking to you or is this a bit? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever seen when Bill Burr went on H3 podcast the first time?
Yeah. He Ethan felt like he was insulted, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what that reminds me of. Because like that's Bill Burr was just talking to him as he would talk to anybody else, like as any other comedian. You know?
Didn't he get on like meds after that episode?
Maybe.
Like depression, like antidepressants.
That might be true. I can't remember.
He grilled him so hard that he went on antidepressants, bro.
Well, because he was probably nervous. He's like, Bill Burr's coming on my show.
And he was like his favorite comedian.
Yeah.
Dude.
But like,
they say don't meet your heroes, man.
I don't know, because the way I feel about that is like, if you're really that big of a fan of Bill Burr and you're having him on, like you kind of have to be ready to get treated like that.
That's true.
It's Bill Burr, bro.
Yeah.
It's Bill Burr. Like, if a comedian came in here right now and just started talking mad shit about me, I just have to accept it. Like, I know what I signed up for.
Yeah.
I just say it's a comedy podcast, and then don't let him hurt my feelings too much, you know.
I love like the roast ones too. So I mean, I feel like though it's allowed me to like have a great sense of humor because I can laugh at a lot of things.
Have you seen the roast battles they do? Because a lot of the people I've had on here, they've been on these roast battles, and I really recommend checking out if you don't know.
We were just talking about that. One of my old roommates, he was on one of those Zany's roast battles, and we wanted to go check it out, but you know, with the event, we just couldn't.
Do you remember who it was? Like what his name was?
Yeah, his name was Tommy Cook.
Okay, he was in it.
Yeah.
He
was in the roast battle. I don't know how he did. I would have loved to go see it.
Yeah, those things are fun. It reminds me of rap because it's like rap battles.
Yeah.
It really is kind of
the only thing is, when I was a kid, I used to love rap battles. Now I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. This can stay in the underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen people who are so good at it, and it's just such a random thing to be extremely good at, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like you're coming up with a bunch of bars about how like this guy's girlfriend cheated on him last summer, and everybody knows about it. Like you're making phone calls, getting dirt on this guy. Like it's such a random. And when you're really good, you're really good. There's a guy named Joey Koff I had on this podcast a while back when I was in Flint, and he had a different name when he would battle rap. I think it was Jabberjaw, and he was real good at it. I remember he knew how to talk some mad shit. You know, that's what you got to do. You got to talk mad shit. Which again, comedy is kind of the same. You know, it's kind of similar, and you got to be able to talk smack a little bit. And like you said, I think hearing it and being able to see it does make you better, right? It makes you be able to laugh at things. You should be able to laugh at everything.
Yeah.
You really should. If there's one open mic I'd recommend for you to go to, Power Hour. That one's on Fridays. It is at FDR Post. It's over near Wicker Park, I want to say. But, that's a good one. That's a good one, sir. They got a band, and that one's a great one. Okay. Mostly comics there, but they'll like if you show up as a pedestrian. They'll be excited. They'll have someone to entertain.
Yeah.
There was a crying baby there just the other day. It went great.
For real?
There actually was. But it went better than you would expect, you know.
They just start roasting the baby?
They made fun of the baby a little bit. They did.
Oh, they did? Damn.
They sure did.
Imagine being the baby.
They were...
And watching the video like 10 years later. And be like, damn, they were roasting me as a baby.
Yo, that'd actually be a great memory, right? I would like that. I would like if I got roasted as like a 3-year-old. I would kind of like it.
But then how would you know? I mean, my brother has a great memory, but I don't really have a good memory.
Not from when I was 4.
Like, what's the oldest memory you have?
I almost drowned when I was like 8.
Damn.
But I don't know if I got too much before that. I flipped off a girl in kindergarten. Yeah. But it was an accident because I just learned the day before that you could like put just your middle finger up. Like I was practicing in my bedroom by myself, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is physically possible! Like you can just do that." I swear to God. And so like the next day, I was sitting in front of her, and I said to the girl, like, "Hey, look!" And then I just flipped her off. And she went, and then ran and told the teacher, and I was so confused. I was like, what is going on right now? I was like, what did I do? I was trying to show her how flexible my hand was, I swear. Like I was literally trying to be like, hey, look what I can do.
Yeah, dude.
So that's probably an early memory of mine. Because how do you forget something like that? That's how I learned what flipping someone off was. What is that? Dude. The teacher didn't really listen to her. I remember the teacher was confused. She was like, what are you talking about?
So. Yeah.
Dude, I didn't get in trouble.
It kills me that you said I had just learned how to... I just learned how to, like, you unlocked, like, a move or something. In, like, human nature, bro. That's crazy.
I remember where I was. I remember how it felt when I, like, did that the first time. I was like, whoa. This is different. Dude, I wonder why I picked the middle finger, too, because that is the one I chose.
It's probably, like, the hardest. Like, even if you were to do it now, it's kind of hard. Like, if you do your ring finger, it's, like... It's hard.
Yeah, I don't have very flexible hands. I can't even do the Star Trek thing.
Yeah, see?
Can you do it? I can't do it. Like I can do it if I force it, but then I can't do it after. Like that thing there.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know what it is. I just think my hands aren't flexible enough.
You know, some people, they're just talented.
Some people got those flexible tongues. You know that thing where you can bend your tongue all crazy? You know what I'm talking about? Like clover tongue.
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's like one in every so many people. Somebody knows what I'm talking about over there. Yeah. It's real. It's real. Jamie will pull it up.
Jamie, pull it up. Yeah, right.
For real, like that's... folks, Patreon, folks, we'll get a Jamie in here if enough of you get on that Patreon. Because really, if I just had money to pay a guy, that's what that TV is there for. Wouldn't it be so great to just have stuff popping up on the screen?
We could ideally have one of them just hop on the desk and just be like, yo, pull this up real quick.
Could have just used you guys for our labor right here.
And then we would have just been watching whatever we wanted to watch.
Just turn this into a live stream.
Yeah.
Start reacting.
Dude, that's another thing. Live streaming is going to be like just starting to pop off too.
You think so?
Dude.
See, live streaming? Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right because I thought about that with podcasting. I didn't really think about that with live streaming. But totally, dude. Because even then, you're right. Like with actors appearing on it, and politicians appearing on it.
Yeah.
What is it? Kevin Hart with all those Kai Cenat streams.
Oh yeah.
That was a big thing. Like,
they're
even if you don't care about any of that, like it was very popular, like amongst the internet.
Yeah, they're all gonna do a movie together, I believe. Like
the scary movie one.
Something, yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I know Kai Cenat's gonna be in it. The new like Wayne Brothers movie. I think that's what it is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I just know Kai Cenat's involved, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Hart's a part of that too. That would make a lot of sense.
I miss those old comedy movies though.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do them enough anymore.
Literally, the episode. Actually, you know what? Andres Merlos, him, and Sean Shaw, that Coconut Cruise movie. That's what I think it was with Andres Merlos. I think it was him. We were talking about it, where it's like they don't really make comedy movies like that anymore. Like they don't really make just fun
Like even raunchy comedy movies they don't make anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like because their movie's a stoner comedy movie.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that. Like when's the last time you saw a commercial stoner comedy movie? Like even Superbad. If you watch Superbad, that
Superbad,
is
Pineapple
so
Express.
much different than something you would
What
see
is it?
come out
This
now.
is the end.
This is the end. Yeah. And a lot of those were the Judd Apatow thing that was going on at that time. But even then, in like the 90s, there was so much more raunchy comedy. Like there was still a bunch of that. Whereas like comedy that at least like was even just funded by studios. Like you don't even see comedy movies being made now. You don't even see them making money. It just doesn't really happen. It'll be some, but and you know part of that is that everything's on streaming. Like there's some movies. There was a movie called Blockers with John Cena and a couple other actors.
Was that good?
I actually liked it. I thought it reminded me of old comedy movies, like those Judd Apatow comedy movies, where it was like ultimately there is like a core value here. Ultimately there is like a fun message for you to take from it, but also it's a movie about parents trying to make sure their kids don't have sex on prom night. So it's like called Cock Blockers, and it's three parents trying to cock block their kids. And so it's like it's a raunchy comedy in that. But also, it's like a family movie in the sense that it's about a parent-child relationship and the kids growing up and all of that, you know, which is what those movies are at their best, in my opinion, is like you have a heart to the film, but also it's a comedy that doesn't take itself too serious. At one point, John Cena does a butt chug. He like has alcohol and he chugs it through his ass. So,
Dang.
yeah, it's awesome, dude. Great movie.
The story progression to get to that must have been interesting.
Yep.
Because
I mean,
preventing their kids from.
You got to do what you got to do for your children.
I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that movie was good. I can't think. There's got to be other good comedies that have been released. Literally, the episode I filmed earlier today, that's what I was going to say a minute ago. Owen Monahan, he was talking about how, like, he wants to make comedy movies and just movies in general because there aren't a whole bunch of, like, fun comedy movies. Like, there aren't even, they just don't exist. There's not a whole bunch of, like, there's not a whole bunch of art movies in general, but like comedy movies. I think I might be getting our conversation wrong. The more I think about it, I don't know if that's exactly what he said. But that is something we're talking about. No comedy movies. No comedy movies. No artsy movies. No, dude, movies in general. Somebody's got to fix these movies. This is a recurring theme here on the show. Like a lot of comedians are making movies, you know?
I mean, I think we're going to have all of that kind of come back. I've said this before, but I think all of the old art forms are going to come back. For example, I think like physically reading like something like a newspaper or a magazine, that's going to come back.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because people like it more?
No, it's because as we get more attached to our phones, I think naturally we've reached a part of our lives where it's like, okay, I understand that I've kind of developed like this addiction to my phone and I don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think more as time goes on, more and more, I could be wrong, you know, maybe we could have the Wall-E like world happen where, you know, we all just gain 300, 400 pounds and, you know, have hover chairs and, you know, eat our breakfast, lunch, and dinner through a straw and just like watch something on screen and we're just like living off of our phones. But I'm going to be honest, I have faith in humanity. And I think that we're all just kind of getting to a point where we're just getting tired of being on our phones. And I see it more and more. Like, for example, I also write blogs. Like, that's a part of, like, the brand, the culture I want to build. And why I want to, like, continue to focus on blogs is because I feel like for a split second, it's taking you away from your phone. And it's giving you an art form that can be considered ancient, you know, like, I mean, I say that because I don't read, like literally read, but I've always like wanted to, but I do miss the nostalgia of like when I was a kid, I would run, grab the newspaper, because I did read a lot of comics. I was like I was into like reading the actual like the comics on the Sunday mornings, you know what I mean? And so I just like miss the feeling of like holding something. If you go to a bookstore, it just feels like you could just chill there for like hours all day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Same thing with like podcasting. You can say, you know, we're going back to that. And just more and more people, I think, just are getting tired of the addiction that we've developed towards our phone. And I think all the old kind of like forms of, I guess, art, you can say, are going to come back.
Like, what do you like with books and newspapers and
Magazines.
See, I think like with like even, I think podcasts are kind of a form of that. It's a kind of example that people still look at long form content because like short form content is so everywhere all the time. Like just scrolling and seeing things. Podcasts are kind of like the thing that breaks away from that, where somebody will watch for 3 hours, whereas like you watch a TikTok for 15 seconds. You watch a podcast for 3 hours. It's a big difference, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, and you need things to break you out of that because that's the more natural thing, in my opinion, rather than like constant context switching and seeing 100 different things all at once.
And I think a big moment for me to like realize that like not everything is progressing towards like, you know, this like dopamine high of constantly scrolling on our phones. And is because when I used to edit videos, I used to think like, the attention span, right? And like, what is it? The watch time?
Yeah.
And so I would like watch a lot of like video like tutorials on like how to keep your video retention high. And it'd be like have a cut like every 3 seconds or like whatever, right? And so like I really tried that like Coco Melon effect. But then I really like reflected on it and I went to go watch like I've watched like some of my favorite movies and I just started watching The Sopranos. And I realized that my favorite moments in cinema are always the moments where there's nothing going on. And it's just like silence. For example, the Oppenheimer movie, right before they're about to hit the button to test out the nuclear bomb. Did you watch Oppenheimer?
No, I didn't see it.
It goes completely silent. Like you could hear a pin drop. And for me, that moment was the most impactful. The movie with Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, where they're all wrestlers, Iron Claw, there was a moment where like I think there was like tons of scenes in the movie where it's like dead silent, and I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but you know it was like dead silent, and you really get to feel the impact of that moment, right? So once I realized that, I started changing my editing style, and I realized this is essentially like I'm gonna treat this like the cinema I love, like the things I enjoy, and so. That's why on my new channel for the brand, because those are the things I'm focusing on, is for the brand, like developing a culture around it, is the blog posts, so like the written blogs, the YouTube videos, the YouTube channel itself, and just the creating the clothing. So part of it. But yeah, man, I mean, how Forrest Gump says, that's all I got to say about that.
With when you say blog, like what are you putting on the blog then?
So I just started doing this thing where I do like the Mercado Goods like spotlight. And so like I'm going to be interviewing a lot of people, but unlike it being an audio like interview or a podcast or whatever, I'll just like write a blog post off of the conversation that we had. So I'm going to be releasing probably like 2 within the next week or 2. So that, and also just like, I guess you could say like behind the scenes, you know, one of them I did like, if I were to start a brand again, how would I do it? Really just anything, bro, to be honest. I'm a huge hip hop music lover, you know, film buff, whatever it may be. So, I mean, basically it's like whatever I'm into, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, see, I feel like it's such a broad thing. Like, if you're gonna start a brand, how would you do it? Like, there was again on the episode I recorded before this one, I was talking about how I found a book. It was like how to podcast, like 101, like a book about how to podcast. And I was just thinking, like, you know, you can't really teach much about how to podcast other than like plugging everything in, you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is in just doing it. Same thing probably with starting a brand. A lot of it is just doing it. You can only tell people so much. You can give them like the ins and outs of the basics for sure.
And what I've started to realize is a lot of the content that I make is really just like kind of like for myself. Because again, it was titled, if I were to start a blog brand again, how would I do it?
Yeah.
You know? So it's like really for me to like look back on, and then I'll even find myself going back and like being like, oh yeah, I gotta lock in. This is what I would do different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
change this again. So I mean, in reality, like now it's really becoming more of like for myself, and I go back on my content and I think like, you know, I've even started to think that those blog posts can convert into like a skeleton script for the YouTube videos themselves.
In what way?
Some of them have been like, I guess you could say like video essays. Like
Yeah.
I did a blog post on the AMP cipher, right? Like how we're talking about live streamers. The AMP cipher is something that was like the 2016 double XL like cipher, right? And the AMP cipher is all the live streamers, you know, Phantom, Kaisenat, Agent, Duke, and all of them. And they'll do like their own hip hop cipher. And I was talking about like the influence of that cipher, of live streaming, of like all of these artists, and even like how they are going to become like the next like hip hop rock stars, whatever you want to call it. You know,
How long is the essay?
I'd probably say it's really not that long, dude. I try to keep it short and sweet because I'm doing it for myself again. I'm not gonna read something that's like 3 pages long, 4 pages long. It's short and sweet.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I've seen those videos where people will have, like, I don't know if it's an AI script, but even with, like, an AI voice where the voice will say it and let's have pictures thrown up and, like, even something like that.
Yeah.
You just get some, or if you just read it yourself, like, just record it with a microphone. You could just do that and then just edit together some pictures
Exactly.
and then make that a whole video.
And
Because
that's
you
what-
easily, yeah, you're right. You can convert it pretty easily, yeah.
And that's why I said it's like a skeleton script, because
Yep.
then you could just really just set up a mic and then you're just talking, like trying to think off the dome about like, oh, okay, so like this is the gist, and then you just go on a tangent about it and then just edit it down to what fits the best, create a video essay, upload it onto YouTube, and now you have something completely different, a different form for people to consume it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and in that vein, it's like what I said before about like branching out on different platforms, like even just trying different things, like trying different things all the time, like comedians do when they try new bits. Like
Yeah.
thinking that you know the way to do everything is like not the way to grow. Like sometimes you need to try the exact opposite of what you would normally do, and that's the thing that works, you know? Like with videos, that's often the case. What kind of content do you regularly make then, like when you're posting stuff on here?
So, on my YouTube channel or the blogs?
The YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is really just behind the scenes of the brand. So it's not informational. It's just entertainment.
Okay.
And you just get to kind of see like behind the scenes of what it is that I'm doing in that moment. I try to edit it to be like kind of cinematic, but sometimes when I don't have time and I just want to be able to put something out, I just try and just get through it along as not as quick as I can, but you know, I just try and put it together, put something out, and then, you know, when I feel like I can probably have more of the attention span to like focus my attention more on like how the story is going to develop and stuff like that, then I will. But for the most part, it's just behind the scenes of the brand. Like, for example, at the event, I wanted to do like, you know, kind of like interviews with people and weave it into the video itself. But I'm going to be honest, bro, I was swamped all day that I didn't even have enough time to like set up my camera. Like, I had a bunch of people that could have helped me.
It sounds like you need a Jamie.
I need a Jamie too, man.
Yeah.
But the thing is, again, I realized this year I just have to focus on developing my craft. That's it.
Yeah.
And like build my muscle, right? So like how we're talking about like for comedians, they're building that muscle of like going out every night and going to open mics. But for me, I need to build the muscle of having output of like different garments, different collections, different campaigns, different shoots.
You're trying
learn how to
different
sew.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep putting stuff out there, and that's just really what I'm trying to teach myself, man. That's my goal for this year.
I had Tony Angelos on here. He's a realtor, and he told me I think it's like some business advice, like just for businesses in general. And I think it was more, better, new, and in that order. So like if you're trying to grow your business or whatever it is, first you do more. Kind of like what you just said, more of all these different things that you haven't already done, you know, or maybe maybe not even the new thing. Maybe because maybe that would be the last one. Maybe more is just like do what you're already doing, but do 10 times that. So if you think you're making a bunch of designs, make 10 times as many. Maybe that's but I don't know.
Yeah.
Or better. Then like if more doesn't work, then better. So then make the designs even better. And if that doesn't work, then do completely new things. But I think that's just general business advice. Because like what he was saying to me was like even with a podcast, when he says more, he means reach out to more people. So like contact more people, and just if I message 10 people instead message 10 more, or maybe message 10 more high profile people, because what if one of them responds, like that type of thing. But I'm trying to think of how you could apply it to like a fashion brand, because I think like obviously you always want to make new things and do new things, but more it'd probably be also like more reaching out to other people, probably, right? Like for collaborations, that'd probably be a great way to grow, like just random things. I bet if you reach out to events, like I know a lot of the what are they, just festivals, I guess that's the word I'm looking for, like because they always have vendors at all these festivals. I wonder how much it takes to just say, hey, I'm an apparel brand, this is what we do. And again, I guess not again, but I would advise you, sir, you hop on ChatGPT, all right, you have it help you out a little bit with typing that one out. It'll give you a perfect little email to send them. That's what I usually do. I have it help me. I'll tell it everything I need, and then I'll have it construct an email and just play with that a little bit, because otherwise you're just trying to sound professional. That'll do it for you.
Yeah.
But you just reach out. You just reach out and say, hey, I'm a brand. This is what I'm doing. This is... maybe say like some positives, like we have so much in sales, or if you can come up with any cool numbers to say to them, just impress them. I don't know what you're supposed to say in those emails, but that'd probably be a big one. Because like even with this podcast, I was thinking I should probably sponsor comedy shows. Like if I could just ask them, hey, how much would you guys want me to pay you for you to say sponsored by Ruse Radio? Like literally just say that.
Or the other way around.
Get them to sponsor me. Yeah, I know. That's why we just need to have like more and more comics on here, more and more people. I mean, even Chicago brands. I mean, hell, you want to throw a sponsor on here, I'm not going to stop you, okay? I'll tell you that much.
Aside from myself, I mean, no.
But yeah, it's all kinds of things. Because I mean, like, really, that's kind of what he was saying, is more. That's that more thing, is reaching out to more and more people. Because eventually, it's like 1 in every 100, one of them's going to say yes. And if you send 10 emails for 10 days, that's 100 emails you just sent.
Yeah.
Like that's all it really takes. I mean, like with something like this, with a podcast, I bet with the brand though too, it's the same. Like one big thing might be all it takes. Like one big guest might be all it takes for everything else to pop off from there. Same thing with a brand, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure if you had one big event where like there were a bunch of big names there and you could just see them and talk to them, that would be all it takes. Because I'm sure that's how fashion is. I'm sure fashion's kind of a who you know type industry. It's got to be.
I'm learning about it. I mean, I think so too.
Are there a lot of fashion podcasts? Are there?
No.
No?
I know of, no.
Yeah, because someone I met recently told me she wants to do a fashion podcast. She told me she listened to one, but I can't remember what it was. But it just made me wonder, like, if that's a big thing, if there's a lot of people doing it. Because it seems like there would be. It seems like there would be a market there. Actually, one of the first people I ever had on this podcast was someone who did fashion. Back when I did video interviews, I met her through that. It was Ray's Royalty Fashion Company, or Ray's Royalty Clothing Company. But, yeah, so, and I think I told her the same thing. I was like, do a podcast. Because I knew, like, the fashion, there's probably a lot going on. I'm glad that you said that earlier, because it makes me realize there is, like, with having all those fashion people in the industry come on and talk about it, and you wouldn't hear from them otherwise. That's a cool thing to hear, because I'm sure those people are super interesting people. I'm sure they have a lot to say, When I talked to that realtor, he was talking about, like, he'll talk, when he would do these podcasts with other realtors, he would think they're going to talk about, like, work and, like, what it's like in real estate, and instead the guy would tell him about his life story and how he's in a biker gang like 10 years before he ever became, like, just random things. But that's the beauty of it, is like, it's not just a regular interview type thing. Yeah. So it's cool to have that for fashion, I imagine, because I can only imagine the personalities you see in that world. Even it probably takes a certain type of person, especially like to be a brilliant fashion designer, I imagine it takes a certain type of person, you know?
Yeah.
You got to separate yourself from the pack.
Yeah, but dude, I think that's all the time I have.
Oh, yeah?
Because we were going to get food before this.
Oh, you're good.
I feel so bad because these dudes are probably starving.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, you know what? They stuck it out. We got some troopers in here. I can't believe Margot got so comfortable. Look at her. She's like sleeping slumped right
And
there.
I also I totally forgot. I forget these things all the time. I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah, I would have made sure to kick her out
But,
for real.
dude,
if I
it's really
knew.
not a big deal because, like, you remember that episode of, like, Dwight from The Office?
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, the only way to, like, not get sick is to, like, be sick all the time, you know? Or, like, expose yourself to the virus, right?
Yeah.
So I exposed myself to the contaminant, and I hope that way I'm just, like, less allergic to it next time.
It's like exposure therapy,
Yeah.
but with allergies.
Yeah.
I hope that's how that works.
Yeah, like, I'm really allergic to horses, but if someone was to be like, yo, you want to go ride horses? I'd be like, dude, yeah, let's go. You know? I mean, I don't care. I'll break out in hives, too, and I'll still do it.
Tomorrow he's gonna like be barely able to move from all of the puffiness, and he'll be
Yeah.
like, you know what, it was worth it. I was on Ruse Radio.
Dude, it was. Yeah. But
And hey, man, I'd love to have you back on for real.
absolutely.
I mean, you're always welcome to come back. It's cool it's refreshing to have someone outside of this comedy sphere. I love those guys, but I mean, I'm an artiste, okay? Ruse is an artiste. I'm trying to expand out into the world. I want to talk to all the people. I'm gonna have the president on here one day. All right, you mark my words.
Dude, when it happens, we'll turn this back.
Yep. Clip this with the
Yeah.
clip of me having the president on. Yeah. It'll be like, dude, it'll be like the president of like 2037, and it's gonna be some AI robot.
And it's just going to be one president of the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. The timeline's gonna progress a lot between now and then.
And they'll control all the media.
Yeah.
And so anybody who wants to have a podcast, it'll be like your only guest can be this one person every single day.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you know what? It's a beautiful world. The future's so bright. I gotta
Yeah.
wear shades, folks. You gotta use the bathroom?
No, you're good. I just had to stand up.
All right. I was gonna guide him to the restroom, folks, but nobody's got to pee up in here. You got a social media you want to tell them what it is? Now's your chance, and also you got to send the people home with the message. This is where it happens.
Cool. Yeah. At Mercado_Goods is going to be for the brand. So anybody who wants to follow along for the journey, tune in there. If you want to follow my personal, I am a multidisciplinary artist. I do photography, videography, and clothes now. So that's at El Mercadog. And my message to the world would be, stay sexy, America.
And with that being said, folks,
Doot doodle doot. Oh, my bad.
oh,
Doot doot doot.
doot.
Doot doot. Ruse.
Oh, I screwed that one up. I went a little too hard on it. I got excited. That dude caught me off guard. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. You got me with the Nardwar.
Yeah.
A true connoisseur of the arts
like
you
that?
are, sir. I love that. With all of that being said, folks, gotta give it to you straight. Gotta give it to you raw, the way I know you like it. Ruse Radio. Clocking out. Been too long.